Hello, everybody. Welcome to This Week in Astrology with your friend Gretchen Heidel. I am here going over This Week in Astrology all the way from February 3rd to February 9th. I'm going to be covering some larger things, though, that are going to go way out beyond just This Week in Astrology. For example, I'm going to be starting to talk about Venus. Venus is going to be on the move this week, but she is going to go retrograde, so you won't want to miss this. And also, there's another planet changing directions this week, so that's a bit of good news. So welcome if you were just joining me for the first time. I appreciate you tuning in. And also, if you've been a loyal follower all of this time, welcome back. I appreciate you as well. So let's get started. I'm going to jump right into the deep end here. Venus is going to be doing a lot of different things, and I'm going to talk a lot about this week with Venus. However, first I do want to touch on just last week. Woo, that was rough. With Mercury being conjunct Pluto, we had 3 different plane incidences happening. One of them didn't get as much press, but definitely there was an accident pertaining to a plane flipping over some kind of a vehicle or something. At an airport, and just horrible stuff going on with planes. So I've had a lot of people saying, what in the heck is happening, and if you've watched my previous videos, I kind of touched on this Mercury conjunct Pluto thing. But see, Pluto is in a different sign now. We're used to Pluto being in Capricorn, and to be honest with you, it became like clockwork. I would say, there's a Pluto thing going on, and unfortunately, when Pluto is in Capricorn, oftentimes that resulted in shootings. With Pluto being now in Aquarius, we're dealing with some plane accidents and things like that. Mercury was also, in the same sign as well. So that was a double Aquarius thing. Aquarius is an air sign. A lot of people think it's a water sign because the name of Aquarius, the nickname is the water bearer, but it definitely is an air sign. So we have Pluto kind of behaving differently now that it's in the astrological sign of Aquarius, and also so much internet AI stuff. So that is very Aquarian as well, and we're going to cover some of that in this broadcast. And you won't want to miss, because I always pull some cards towards the end of the broadcast as well. Cards for the week, what are the angels want us to know, and so I also pull cards as well. So you want to make sure you stay till the end of the broadcast. Getting back into this week, good news is a lot more, I don't want to say quieter, but gentler maybe is a better word. And this week we have a lot of Venus energy. So if you felt a big shift kind of happen over the weekend, especially on Saturday, February 1st, we had Venus formed a conjunction with Neptune. And I had predicted that it might have been a sleepy weekend, a weekend where you felt a little bit more tired, a little bit more run down, or maybe you just didn't feel those things, but you just wanted to kind of watch some rom-coms and lay on the couch or read a good book or something like that. That's Venus and Neptune, and they came together over the weekend. So it was a little bit of a sleepy weekend and a little bit of a more low-key weekend. Or even if you had a lot to do, you might have just wished that you could be at home and kind of chilling. If you enjoyed that energy, we are going to be having that again, and that's going to be coming on March 27th. So if you enjoyed Venus and Neptune getting together, you have a second chance at it. Usually this only happens once per year, but because Venus is going to be going retrograde, we're going to be repeating some of these things. So let me just talk about what Venus is doing this week. I'm going to start with Venus on the move. Venus is moving into the astrological sign of Aries. Venus has been in Pisces all the way since January 2nd. And Venus in Pisces is very romantic and all the little, oh no, now we're going into Aries, and Venus is going to go retrograde in Aries. So this is the big news. So now we're starting the sort of process. Venus is going into the astrological sign of Aries. This is going to happen on Tuesday overnight, Monday to Tuesday. The peak of it is going to be at 2:57 a.m. Eastern time. So it'll happen even earlier that if you're out in the West Coast, or plus or minus whatever time zone you are watching from, where Venus is going into a Mars ruled sign. So Venus is not very comfortable actually in Aries. Venus actually was more comfortable in Pisces, to be honest, because Venus is, our love life and our aesthetic, it's finances, it describes who we love. It describes how we have self-love. It's all the stuff. And especially with Aries, we have a big dose of self-love coming here. Venus in Aries can be a little bit more of an aggressive Venus because Aries is ruled by Mars, the god of war. So instead of Venus being this nice, soft, feminine energy, which is very typical of Venus and Pisces that we just had, now we're shifting into like a more masculine sort of Venus sign where Mars is, and Aries is all about the conquest and all about, doing all that kind of stuff. And so this is a little bit more of an aggressive Venus. And so we have Venus going into Aries, like I said, this week, and Venus is going to end up staying in Aries all the way until March 27th. And then it's going to go back. So what's going to happen is it's going to be Pisces, and Aries again. So this whole entire thing from January 2nd all the way until June 6th is going to be Pisces, Aries, Pisces, Aries, Pisces, Aries. So it's going to take that long to kind of just move out of these two signs. And the reason why that's such a big deal and also rather unusual is that every single month Venus changes signs. So, it's not usually in one sign or two signs this long. And so we're going to get an extra if you have Venus in Pisces, Venus in Aries, or if you are in Aries or are a Pisces, we're going to have extra time in these two signs. Now, it's going to go retrograde. So you might want to write this down because this is a big news. Venus will go retrograde on March 1st until April 13th. So it only goes retrograde once every year and a half, and it's usually retrograde for a month and a half. So that if you can remember that little cheat sheet, that's how often it goes retrograde. It's not very often, every year and a half or so goes retrograde. So this is a big deal for 2025 for sure. And March is, we're kind of going to be, we don't have as many planets retrograde right now, which is nice. And then March, we're going to have two planets retrograde, which is Venus. And then at the same time that Venus is retrograde, we're going to have Mercury retrograde. So they're going to have an overlap. So like I just said, March 1st to April 13th, Venus is going to be retrograde. And then Mercury is going to be retrograde for the first time this year. So write these two dates and they're going to overlap during that time. So there's going to be an overlap of Mercury and Venus. So we're really going to have some reviewing going on. These two planets are considered to be very powerful when they're retrograde because they are considered to be personal planets. These planets are close here to our planet here on Earth, and we feel them. They're called the personal planets because we feel them more personally. They really kind of hit us, a little bit harder than some of the outer planets that, go retrograde for half a year or so. We don't feel them quite as much when they're retrograde, unless if maybe it's your ruling planet, that could be an exception. But usually we feel these personal planets like Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde much more strongly. So this is going to be a very powerful retrograde, and we're not retrograde yet, but we're starting to kind of get into that zone. And so we're doing so by entering Venus in Aries this week, like I said, overnight from Monday to Tuesday. So most of the week, that's going to be sort of shaping it. And we're going to feel this shift is kind of mystical and it's fantasy driven and it's very sometimes impractical. We have rose colored glasses on with Venus in Pisces. Then we go into much more of an assertive, all about the chase and the conquering and the conquest and all the stuff. Venus in Aries people that come to see me, for my personalized astrological sessions tend to be people who value the chase. They like to have someone that's a little hard to get. They don't like an easy, person that's easy to get. They like a challenge. And so that's what this is about like sort of the hunting, the chasing, the mating dance, if you will, between us humans. So it's not really an astrological sign, like I said, that Venus is very comfortable in. It really likes more of that, romantic, softer side. Now, we are going to get another chance for Venus to be in Pisces between March 27th to April 30th. So if you really liked how your romance was going while Venus was in Pisces, we're going to have another chance of it. And we're going to have more review, okay, of whatever we've been going through. And then on April 30th, it goes back into Aries, and then it finishes out into Aries all the way until June 6th of this year. So we have a lot of interplay here between Venus and Pisces. Part of the time it's going to be retrograde in Aries, part of the time it'll be retrograde in Pisces, and we're going to have reviewing going on during that time. The same thing is actually similar thing. I won't go through all the dates right now because I don't want to be, having eyes glaze over with dates and times. But Mercury is going to do a similar thing. It's going to start out in Aries, and then it's going to end up, Mercury retrograde is going to end up being in Pisces. So we have almost like an interplay again. Mercury and Venus are going to be going back and forth between these two signs. So it's very important, and they're very, very different signs. It's always a little strange to have these two kind of highlighted because Aries is the very first sign of the zodiac. It's new, it's fresh, it's fun, it's exciting. And then Pisces is the dreamer. We're wrapping up, we're finishing, because Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So it's kind of a strange, like for them, it's like beginning, ending, beginning, ending, beginning, ending. There's kind of like an element of that going on behind the scenes. We're supposed to be wrapping up something and finishing something with all of this Pisces energy. And when we go back to review and re-review, we're going to be getting, sort of flavors of that. So this could be endings of relationships for sure, because when we talk about Venus, we're definitely talking about our love life, and then maybe a fresh new relationship, or that a thing that has been going on in your life, maybe like a phase is ending, okay, with romance or with somebody that you really love. Venus doesn't have to always be romantic, but she often is, because she's the Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. So oftentimes she's associated with our love life, but it could be anybody that you love, but maybe an element of your relationship is ending, and then we're going to be starting fresh. But the interesting thing is going to review each time. We're going to review Aries, and we'll re-review Pisces again. So it's not like all going to be like sort of clean. It'll be a little messy. It's going to be a little messy. Now, during Venus retrograde, and I'm going to talk more about the Venus retrograde when we get to it, but Venus retrograde is often a time where on the news, you'll see a big star, having a breakup or something. There's a lot of times when Venus retrogrades result in a breaking up because it doesn't pass the test. It doesn't pass the review. I always say these retrogrades are like stress tests. So we're going to be stress testing our love life, and then also our communication at the same time, with Mercury being retrograde in March. So we really want to, we're getting into that zone. So initially we have this Venus and Aries energy starting, like I said, for most of the month here of February, and Venus is going to be quite active in doing some things. One of the things that Venus is going to do right out of the gate this week is going to form a conjunction with the north node of the moon in Pisces. North node of the moon just went into Pisces on January 11th, 2025, and now is meeting up with Venus. And so that's coming to a peak on Monday, but we felt this over the weekend. Venus already formed a conjunction with Neptune, now forming a conjunction with the North Node, and that's going to be, the peak of it is Monday at 5:17 p.m. Eastern time, but it's going to be felt a few days before and a few days after. So really the beginning of this week we'll be feeling that. Now the North Node of the moon is our destiny and our fate and what we're meant to do here in this lifetime and what we're heading toward. These two kind of meeting up, there's a sort of fatedness and a destiny that's kind of happening. But in the astrological sign of Pisces, where this is the peak of it is occurring, is a little confusing. Pisces has this dreamy sort of quality about it, a very idealistic quality, but just make sure that all of this is kind of not all pie in the sky, that we actually have like more of a plan here. Some of this can feel a little bit faded and idealistic and all of those things. Now, if anything happens with your love life over the last week going into this week, there could be a destiny or a fatedness, but because Venus is so close to Neptune and so close to the North Node, let's just make sure that we really fully understand what this is all about. And like I said, it'll go into Aries next, which is a little less dreamy and idealistic. Aries just kind of wants to get the hunt on. And so that's something that is going to be happening at the beginning of this week. Now, we also have another thing that's going to be happening at towards the end of the week with Venus on Friday, and that's on April 7th, is Venus is going to form a sextile with Pluto. Pluto's in Aquarius. By that point, Venus will be in Aries. And so that's going to come to a peak. The height, the pinnacle, the most strong that it'll be is at the end of the week on Friday the 7th at 7:14 a.m. Eastern time. So 4:14 a.m. Pacific Standard Time if you're on the west coast of the US or wherever you're viewing from. That is going to be transformative love, though gentle, because sextiles are typically gentle, thankfully, because anytime you get Venus and Pluto together, ooh, there could be some jealousy and some rage and some possessiveness and some controlling issues. But with it being a sextile, it's softer, it's gentler. So there could really be some transformative energies again towards the end of the week. And if you like that one, we're going to have another chance at, see, we're having another chance to review some of these things. And that is coming on March 21st, 2025, where Venus again will form a sextile with Pluto, Aries, Aquarius, and that is another chance for this transformative energy to play out. So what's happening is Venus is not really traveling too far as she's sort of hovering and going back and forth here between some of these things. So some of these things you're going to hear me say, well, this happened last month, and then, you know, as we keep going. So there's a lot of energy happening around Venus, which again can bring up how we love, how do we accept love, how do we give love, you know, the giving and the receiving, all that good stuff, how we want to be seduced. Now, again, with Venus and Pisces, that's a softer, gentler process. With Aries, it's more hit you over the head, drag you back to my cave kind of situation. So we like to have that more grand gestures when we're getting into Aries. So be careful of love bombing, because love bombing can be a thing, because you know, the person might be looking at you as the thing to get or to have, but how about, does it have substance? Do we have follow-up? Do we have all those types of things? Because unfortunately, Venus and Aries especially can burn out on love. I've seen a lot of my clients with Venus and Aries kind of like, again, the thrill of the chase, the hunt, all of that. But then it's like boring once, okay, now you're here. So what do I do with you? Like, you know, so we really want to make sure that we're keeping our love life alive and the fires are stoked, and make sure that you're dating. If you're in a relationship, make sure you're dating your partner, not just like, ho hum, we're going to sit on the couch and do what we always do, but maybe go for an adventure together, or maybe go into one of those, like, you know, escape rooms or some kind of a thing where it's active, because Aries does like activities. Aries likes to go, you know, like more hiking and, you know, outdoors and things like that. It could be something good, doing an activity together. This is not a static energy. It's a more dynamic energy. It wants to move, you know, and all that. So we really want to incorporate some excitement really into our relationships again. If they've gotten stagnant, this is a good time to be doing. Also, Aries does like to do, I mean, Aries isn't totally known for being a service sign, but definitely a more make love to you sign, and definitely more of a sign that they want to do things together. So if you have a partner, a pair, you know, like something that you have to kind of, I like those escape rooms because it's like, we have a mission together and we got to solve this thing. That's a very Aries sort of way of looking at something. So if you're kind of both on that same page, drilling into something that you can do together, that's a really cool Venus and Aries kind of thing. Maybe go to like a carnival, or you know, some sort of casino or something where you have to work as a team together. To navigate, to explore, to have fun, you know. Aries does like to have that. So if you're normally a shy sign, or a sign that just kind of likes to, you know, sit on the couch, this is definitely getting out there and doing stuff and meeting people through situations where you're doing stuff, you know, where you're exploring or having fun. Now, careful with March, because in March, once we get there, I'm going to say pause those dating apps in March, because we don't want to be meeting new people during Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde, two big retrogrades. We don't want to be meeting people during that time. So get your wiggles out now. Because as we get closer, I'm going to say, shut it down, shut it down. And that is a time in March where exes could come back. Now, you could even start to hear them as we get closer, to that time. But for sure, once we're in it, we want to shut it all down. Exes are a little bit of an exception. And again, I'll go over all that once we get closer to the actual retrogrades. But just take this time, especially since we have Valentine's Day coming up and all. Take this time to explore, to go out, to meet people, be daring, take a chance, be a little bit more, I'm not going to use the word aggressive, but, have a little bit more chutzpah approaching people, like, hi, how are you today? And all those types of things. Aries' favorite color is red. So you might want to wear some red to get noticed. Well, that could be helpful for people who are single looking for a new partner. So that is the Venus in Aries, kind of Pisces, Aries, thing. So again, it's going into Aries officially overnight between Monday and Tuesday of this week, April 3rd into April 4th. And we're really going to be starting to feel this Aries energy. Things will start to pick up in that department, in the Venus love department. She's also finances too, by the way. And especially if you work in some sort of a creative field, or like you're a fashion designer, you're a writer, you do some kind of a thing where it's a very creative thing. This could be a good time to, again, have a little bit more chutzpah and have a little bit more, drive and ambition, because this is an active, dynamic Venus. She's not usually quite this, out there, but this is a little bit more of an extroverted thing. So if your work is a creative work, which is Venus field, like a hairdresser or a makeup artist or a designer or something where, you're creating, you're a musician or something, you're creating for a living, this could be good. And this is the time to make moves until we get to the retrograde. Then we want to kind of chill out with all the big moves. So do it now in February instead, and then put it on pause. And then I'll say, pick it back up again in April of some time. The other big thing that we have going on overnight, also Monday to Tuesday, same thing, is that we have Jupiter is going direct. These are the two big things this week, really, is the Venus thing and the Jupiter thing. Jupiter in the morning on February 4th at 4:40 a.m. Eastern time. So again, earlier than that if you're on the West Coast. Jupiter has been retrograde all the way since October 9th. 4 months, the last 4 months it's been retrograde in Gemini. So if you're a Gemini, you have been feeling this energy for sure. Even if you're Sagittarius, you might have felt this. Definitely the mutables we're feeling it with also with Pisces and Virgo. So there's been a lot of planets that have been retrograde really since last year. So this is one. We had Uranus go direct on January 30th, and now we have Jupiter going direct too. And now we're kind of out of the outer planets, being retrograde for now. So this is nice. This is a little bit of a break. Gemini, as you know, is ruled by Mercury. And have you been hearing anything on the news about internet and, government going into different things and all the internet stuff, AI, Aquarius and Gemini are really the two signs that sort of rule over the internet and AI and communications and all that type of stuff. And Gemini is one of those signs. I really think of Gemini as this is how we stay connected. It's planes, trains, automobiles, it's all the stuff. And so wherever Gemini is in your chart, we've had Jupiter there retrograde. And Jupiter is a really normally pretty good planet. It's optimism, expansion, and feeling good, usually. But when it's retrograde, I don't like our optimism and our good luck and our expansion to be retrograde. So it's nice that it's actually going direct now. It's leaving that, and we can have some forward movement. It is going to be also, we're going to have, I haven't talked about this because I planned on doing a bigger video that was like more of like what to expect this year. And I still might even put that out because I'm getting back into doing the videos again. I have a lot to say. But this year, just so that you know, in the absence of that, I'm calling this the year of the preview. And the reason for that is because almost all of the outer planets are going to be moving into the next sign and then going back. It's like we're going to have a preview of what's coming in 2026 when they go into that more permanently. The only one that's not going back out of all the outer planets is Pluto, but I'm kind of, we're really early in the time of Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius, so I'm kind of counting that in this. But we even had a revisiting of Pluto and Capricorn back in the fall. So now we are going to be having previews. So what's going to happen is not only is Jupiter still in Gemini, but Uranus this year is going to be moving into Gemini for a little bit. They're all going to do this. It's almost like we're getting like an appetizer. We're going to get like a little sample of this next thing. And then we're going to be going back to the original plan just to finish it out. And then in 2026, these bigger planets are permanently going into the next sign. So one of the signs that's doing this, preview situation is Uranus. And Uranus is the internet and AI and all the kind of stuff that we're talking about. It's very much kind of similar in some ways to Mercury. That's going to be going into Gemini. And we're going to get the preview between July and November with Uranus in Gemini of 2025. So we're not going to get a break from all of this news about like hacking into accounts and, AI kind of, is AI going to be expanding? Oh, heck yes. I mean, we might even be to that point right now, but AI is going to be taking over things. There's going to be all kinds of stuff going on. We're really getting into, and I've said this for years as Pluto has gone into Aquarius, that we're going to get more and more and more and more into the digital age. And it's just going to keep going with Uranus being there, because Uranus is going to end up, once Uranus moves into Gemini full time in 2026, it is literally going to be there. It's going to be April of 2026. It will be in Gemini for 7 years. So that's going to be the next whole phase where we have had Uranus being in Taurus for all of this last 7 years. And think about like all of the goods, the shortages, all of the things, the supply chains that have been affected because Taurus is that it's more of the goods, it's money, it's all those types of things. Now it did affect cryptocurrency because it's Uranus. Uranus is rules over crypto. But going into Gemini, it's going to get kind of crazy. I think it's going to be really, we got Pluto and Aquarius. We'll have Uranus and Gemini. They're both air signs. And it's just, there's nothing kind of stopping this. It's going to keep going and snowballing. So, it's going to be a little hard to keep up with, I think, the digital age. And we're going to need a lot of grounding. We are going to need a lot of, like going for a walk, playing in a garden, like just getting back to nature, because some of this is just, it's like we're getting so in our heads, but we're not like in our bodies. It's really hard right now, I think, to be in our bodies because we're like, social media and all this stuff. It's overwhelming. I noticed I took a break, you guys know, if you've been following me, I took a break from videos. I took a break. I was very just briefly on, my social media, and it was, I hate to say, I miss you guys. I really do, but it was quite lovely taking a break from the media. It was just because it's hard, constantly trying to keep up, and it's only going to keep going. It's only going to keep snowballing and increasing in speed. So we're going to have a little bit of that. So we're going to finish out this, Jupiter being in Gemini, and then Uranus is going to go into Gemini. So it's like, we're not going to get a break from that energy. Jupiter makes everything bigger. So, we're just going to keep going. with this. And so Gemini is our area of communications, how we stay in touch with each other, how we communicate, all that good stuff. So whatever house it's in, that's how it will affect you on a personal level. But we're going to finally get some forward motion here, some forward steam. Whatever's been going on in your life since the beginning of October, we've had a review. We're reviewing that part. And now it's going to come out of the review phase into a more action-oriented phase. The other thing it's going to do on Monday, April 3rd, it is going to form a trine with Mercury itself. And that's happening, a peak of it 4:52 p.m. So we're going to, again, feel that from over the weekend into the beginning of the week. And this could be a very good time to sort of make announcements and really come out with our communication, communicate in a bigger way. Because Mercury right now is in Aquarius and Jupiter is in Gemini, like I said, in the air sign. So this is really chatty. This is very communicative, and it's wanting to talk. It's wanting to express ourselves and do all that. This week actually is going to be, I don't want to say quiet, but it's going to be gentler energies, which we need after the end of, I told everybody this in my private sessions and my friends and family. I said, the second half of January was nasty energy. It was really hard energy, astrologically speaking. Now we're getting into just a little more gentler energy this week. We will have the second quarter lunar cycle, which is the second chance new moon. That's coming in the astrological sign of Taurus. The peak of it, the height of it, the pinnacle of it will be on February 5th, Wednesday at 3:02 a.m. Eastern time. So just after midnight if you're out on the West Coast, overnight between Tuesday and Wednesday. And so we're going to have that in Taurus. Now, we are in Aquarius season. The sun is in Aquarius. So whenever we have these second chance whatevers, I call them that, but it's really, the proper name is the second quarter lunar cycle. That's when the sun and the moon are square each other. So the moon will be in Taurus, both fixed signs, squaring the sun in Aquarius. So, that's going to be a little bit of a kind of a stressor, but at least it's the new moon. It's the second chance new moons. We are now continuing what we started on this last new moon, which was last Wednesday on January 29th. Which was in Aquarius. Now we're going to be reviewing something pertaining to Aquarius and Taurus. So there could be some commodities and some goods and things like that going on. Also, Taurus is our finances. So there could be we'll hear financial stuff in the news here for sure. And so that happening is going to be the second chance new moon. Now, if you forgot to write your new moon manifestation list or whatever, you can write it on that day, on Wednesday after this thing, and that is another chance to put it under your pillow, and then you can burn it on the next full moon. The full moon is going to be coming next week on February 12th, 2025, and that's going to be in the astrological sign of Leo. So that's going to be a bigger full moon for sure. Whenever the moon is in Leo, I feel like that energy is a bigger energy. So we have that going on right now. So there's a lot of planetary stuff going on behind the scenes and a lot of things taking place. But it's a little bit, like I said, it's gentler. So Monday, there's a lot of energy with Venus, north node of the moon. We have Mercury trine Jupiter, so there's that going on. Not necessarily bad energy or negative energy, but it's a lot. There's a lot of energy on Monday. Going into Tuesday, we have, Venus moving into Aries, and then also we have Jupiter turning direct. Wednesday morning, like overnight really, is the second chance new moon. So we have that time, and we want to do some manifesting, some prayers. You can always zhuzh up your your manifestations on that time. That's not a problem at all. And then as we get into Friday, we have some more sort of stuff going on. We have two kind of minor yet a little irritating thing with Mars. Both the sun and Mercury are going to form quincunxes with Mars, and that means they're not connecting to Mars. So we might want to have some action, some some activity, but we're gonna have a hard time getting going on Thursday and Friday as we get into that. And then we have that Venus sextile Pluto on that time. Now, as we get into the weekend, and I'm just going to cover this very quickly, on Sunday, February 9th, we're going to have the sun forming a conjunction with Mercury. This always happens kind of right before or right after or during Mercury retrograde. So we have that coming. That is going to be an astrological sign of Aquarius. And so the peak of it, the pinnacle of it, is going to be 7:08 a.m. on February 9th. But we're going to have Chiron the day before, highlighting both the sun and Mercury. What this means is Chiron is all about healing. Chiron's going to be sextile with these two. So that's positive again. Sextiles are considered to be a little bit more minor in astrology. It's like something that's sort of pleasant. It's mild. Like sometimes I always equate sextiles to green lights. It's just like, oh, we don't lament about green lights, right? Like if you're driving and you see a green light, it means go in the United States. It's like, yeah, okay, great. Yay, I got all green lights on the way to work. Like we don't think about it very much, but it's like a big deal, right? Especially if you go to work and you usually have, you have to wait or there's traffic. It's like things are just mildly flowing and we don't sort of notice that sometimes. But it's really something to celebrate, especially with all of this harsh energy that we've just been going through. It's nice to have all green lights on the way to work. You know what I mean? It's like nice when things work out. You walk into the restaurant and you're seated immediately, or so just things are working out in your favor and your way. So we have some sextiles as we get into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's kind of nice. I mean, that can really help to smooth over this Mars stuff and smooth over some ruffled feathers, and it's a little softer energy, and it's nice that we can make everything kind of work out in our favor. Sextiles also present opportunity that we have to act on in order for the thing to come to fruition, but there could be some opportunities over the weekend or as we get into next week, so that could be something that's good too. The energy at the beginning of next week is not quite as warm and fuzzy, especially as we head into the full moon time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. February 10th to February 12th is a little bit more crunchy. So we want to take our green lights and our positive flow when we get it. The other thing that's happening on Sunday, which I'll cover, is Mars is going to form a trine with Saturn. That can be very good energy for starting up something new, fresh, exciting. That can be very good energy to start. Now, again, the beginning of next week is crunchy. So I would say if you're going to start something new, do it this week, especially as we get into the end of the week. We're going to start to feel that Mars trine Saturn. As we get into that time. Mars is in Cancer. It's still retrograde, but Mars is in Cancer and Saturn is in Pisces. So we're going to have the water signs activated, which could bring up some emotion because, water is feeling. But Mars is our action, and then Saturn's our goals, and they're actually getting along. They're trying each other, which is getting along, flowing. They're both in water signs. Oh, so nice. So as we move towards the end of the week, if you have something that you need to initiate or start, especially after this second chance new moon on Wednesday, I would say a nice spot for that could really be on like Thursday. I think, or even later in the day as we go through the day on Wednesday or Thursday. If you need to start something new or fresh or different, I think that would be a good time to do so. I would say that's a nice bubble, or even in the beginning of the week before the second chance new moon is fine as well. But really I like Wednesday and Thursday for starting some new stuff, and then we get into like some complication on Friday a little bit. But the weekend looks kind of good. It looks busy. Last weekend was a sleepy weekend. This is not sleepy energy. Okay, so this is a good weekend if you want to rip apart the garage. Mars trine Saturn. Yeah, you could rip apart the garage for sure during the weekend, or clean out your closet or do something, because we might have some additional extra energy, or maybe even start an exercise program, something like that. So I am going to pull some cards for this week. What do we need to know? There's a lot of energy going on here. A lot of things are happening, and we did talk a lot about love. So I'm going to start with that because with Venus, the goddess of love and beauty going on. And again, remember, it doesn't have to be romantic love, but I am going to be using my romance cards here, and I have other cards I'm going to also pull. So if that's not your thing, just hold on, because I'll get to the other cards as well. So what do we need to know about all this Venus going into Aries and all this stuff that's going on this week? What do we need to know about our love life? Oh, okay. Pay attention to red flags. Uh-oh. Pay attention to red flags. The signs are cautioning you. Pay attention to red flags. I'm going to pull another card about that. What do we need to know about those red flags? Yeah, see, we're coming out of that foggy, fuzzy time with Pisces. Now we're getting into a little bit more aggressiveness, which is good if you're a person that like tends to stay or overstay in relationships. This could be good because Aries is like, done. Done with you. So let's see. What else do we need to know about this energy? Okay, we do need to express our love, and this is also what I was saying too, that if the person is worthy, if they went through the vetting, if we had them going through all these Pisces lessons, go ahead and make the romantic gesture. That's what I was saying about you know, with this Venus going into Aries. This is a little bit more, you know, like we feel a little bit more bolder or a little bit more, you know, assertive or confident, where we can really express ourselves a little bit more. But just pay attention to those red flags, because like I said, Pisces can do some love bombing, or we could get a little, you know, we don't want to get caught up in that, because that can be a sign that maybe you're dating a narcissist or something, and we don't want that. So cancel, clear. Okay, so I'm going to also pull from our Major Arcana deck, Tarot. What do I need to know? Okay. Oh, High Priestess. So here we go again. Wow. So High Priestess is all about that, very similar to that Piscean energy that, on one hand, she's the most intuitive card, really. I think one of the most intuitive cards that you can get. She's very intuitive. She's very aligned with her feelings and all that. But on the negative side, this can be lying, this can be illusions, this can be delusions. So maybe we're really coming out of that bubble, that Pisces bubble. We've had a lot of energy in Pisces we have Neptune, we have Neptune in Pisces, we have the North Node of the Moon in Pisces, we have Saturn in Pisces, and we also have Venus in Pisces. That's 4 big signs in Pisces. So we really got to pay attention to these potential red flags here. And then I'm going to pull one more card. What do we need to know about this energy? What do we need to know about the energy here? Okay. But we're going to overcome some of these difficulties. This is an angel deck that I'm using from Doreen Virtue. Overcoming difficulties, Archangel Jeremiah. The worst is now behind you. You're surmounting any previous challenges. And it looks like a bird flying over the mountain there. Very beautiful card. And so, you know what? You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. So if there are red flags, and if we have been in this Pisces bubble where we're not seeing things clearly, we're going to be okay. We're going to surmount these challenges, but we have to kind of go through the stuff first. And especially, I think with Venus in Aries, it gives us a chance, even though it doesn't function as well in Aries, I think it does give us a chance to really be more assertive. And remember, Aries is the self. So this is all about self-love and really focusing on ourselves and how we feel. And so I think that that's something that's really important. Okay, well, if you enjoyed this week, please make sure that you subscribe. I really appreciate it. Like, follow me on Facebook. I have, all those profiles. And if you're looking for a personalized astrological session, please feel free to send me a text message, or you can send me an email, and we can go ahead and schedule that. Lots of love to you guys. I'm sending you guys really good energy, really positive vibes, and I will see you again soon.